Hi guys, and welcome to Reality with Tea. Today I'm drinking a cold, this is like a ginger ale, but it's like jasmine tea and filled. It has the fresh ginger, the cane sugar. This is so good. Um, it's actually helping me to settle my stomach a bit. Welcome. So first I want to talk about Married at First Sight. But first I want to talk about Vincent and Brianna because they're like the favorite of the season. They're both beautiful. I mean, they both look great. I've ranted and raved to you guys so many times about Brianna, her skin, her hair, everything. She's gorgeous. Vincent is gorgeous. You find out that he or his grandmother's from the Bronx. Like we love his demeanor. We love all of them. We find out that grandma's okay. And they talk about Vincent and Brianna talk a little about where they want to live. Do they want to live in a condo or a townhouse? They talk about a family in the future. They are just loving each other so far, right? They're loving each other. They are excited to be together. Vincent is he's over the top romantic. So he talks to her a lot about, I think that this was meant to be. This is, you're my happy place the whole time. I mean, it's just beautiful. We found out that they consummated their marriage after they had that moment of vulnerability where she was there to support him when he needed her, when he found out his grandmother was sick the night before. So I believe that they're the first couple, well, after Paige and Chris, to consummate their marriage. And, he talks about, he is like, he feels like he's more than a husband to her. I think that he feels like they're a match made in heaven, he said. And it's beautiful. We really, really like them. Then we have Jacob and Haley. Remember, Jacob is the older guy. Jacob is about 38, right? And looks and acts like he's about 48 or 58, okay? And, he just talks about the gym. He talks about Star Wars. And she mentions, there are a lot of quirks that my husband has, but it seems like she's still down to figure him out because she feels that there's a chemistry or connection there. So she's still down to find out what is it behind this. You know what I mean? I don't think that she's into the quirks, but I think she's open to them because she does feel some sort of connection there. He is boring, but he's a very nice guy. He's a gentlemanly guy. He's a rigid guy, it seems like. He's kind of out there. I don't think that they really do match, but she's open to finding out more about him. At one point when they were having dinner, he was like, I was going to kiss you afterwards. And she was like, oh no, like this isn't the time. Whatever it was, it made it very, very awkward. And remember, they have been very awkward from the beginning. Now, he, at some point when she said, oh no, he was like, well, I'm just trying to gauge if you like me yet. And it was like, I don't know that was the time or the place to ask those questions. He talks about making her watch the Goonies. He talks about the DeLorean and Back to the Future. Like, he's completely obsessed with the 80s. He talks about this crazy time he was like wearing a pink thong. And though she thinks there's chemistry, I think that she finds some of this stuff kind of off-putting and it just really isn't her interest area. I think he would have been better matched with somebody who has specific interests like that, and she doesn't seem to be that type of girl. Then we have Ryan, and I'm kind of rushing through because, I have a lot to say about Chris and Paige. So I'm just kind of running through. So we have Ryan and Clara, right? So, Clara kind of pops in and out, she says, for her job. Remember, she's a flight attendant. So she says she has a hard time keeping appointments with people due to her job. And they kind of have to just get used to it. Like, there might be a family gathering that she says that she'll be there for, but that she might not be able to make it because she has a flight and all that kind of stuff. So it's going to be interesting how that works because she doesn't seem so into being scheduled and fit in, but he says that he is, and he says it, and you can also tell that he's very structured, he's very timely. He's one of those people that's like, being early is on time, being on time is late. So I want to see how this dynamic plays out between them. She talks about how she's messy and he's neat. They talk about how they're going to raise their kids, and Ryan says that he definitely wants to raise them in the church. And she says she is not comfortable. She doesn't want to, that's the way she was raised. She doesn't want to force a structured religion on her kids. She wants her kids to be able to explore a lot of religions and decide for themselves. And he doesn't seem too happy about that. So this is another issue of contention that's going to come up later. She doesn't believe, because I don't think that Ryan has ever lived with a significant other. So she doesn't believe that he's ready to move into a space with a significant other. And she says, because it's difficult. She had a bad a bad experience in the past, and she's like, he doesn't understand what it is to move in with somebody, and the way that he is so structured and routine. I agree with her, because she's going to come in with all of her stuff and her talkiness and her messiness and her untimeliness and everything, and I think it might drive him a little, his anxiety level is going to go up. So I want to see how this does work, because I can see that being a big issue, because he seems so stoic and structured. They got to do the fun activity in Vegas with the dolphins, and that's a lot of fun. I don't like the vacation in Vegas because you don't get the romantic beachy feel. It doesn't feel like they're on a honeymoon. It just feels like they're on a friend's vacation. And I guess because of COVID, they have to make very specific times when they can meet up with each other and everything. So it just doesn't seem as free and romantic as usual. But I guess time will tell. But I'm just really not feeling this vacation. But they didn't have too many choices. So then you have, now I can't remember this girl's name for anything. I think her name is Virginia, possibly. But the funny thing about it is I couldn't remember her damn name. And so first I put the pilot in the young girl, and then I put the pilot in Tequila because she likes to drink, right? So I feel like in this episode, we see that the age difference is showing itself a bit more. He talks about it a lot more. Some of his statements and the tone he makes it in makes him seem like he's going to be a bit controlling, which I don't like. But that's kind of what I think about relationships where they have that big age gap anyway. She's talking about how, I think she was getting ready for the pool or whatever it was. And so he's like, well, why are you curling your hair? Or why are you putting on makeup to go to the pool? She's like, because I want to, I want to look put together. And I understand it. Like, it doesn't make any sense. But sometimes when I go away, and I don't go away that often, when I go to the pool in case I want to take some pictures, I want to have a little waterproof eyeliner on. Like she had on some waterproof mascara. So at least you look done for the picture, And he's like, so I see that if we have to be somewhere by 7, I'm going to tell you 6. Because you need to start getting ready at 5. And the way that he was kind of saying it was kind of off-putting to me, because I'm like, I don't know, just the way he was talking to her was as if he had to give her a schedule like she was one of his kids. And it was kind of like fatherly, right? And so then I believe he met up with somebody, whatever it was, or I don't know if he was talking to the producers, but at some point he was like, yeah, she's not timely, but I'm working on it with her. And that sounded like, again, she's not your project, she's not your child, right? So she says, so he's asking her, like, why do you want to curl your hair? She's like, well, I want to go to the pool, but I probably won't wet my hair. I'll probably just tan. And now they're into the back and forth, like, well, that makes no sense to go to the pool. I want to do what I want to do. Like, I understand you're trying to convince me to let it all hang loose, but today I don't want to get my hair wet. And I wish he would just have taken it and said, okay, fine, I'm going to do my thing, you do yours, right? They talk about pet peeves, and they all talk about pet peeves this episode. And so hers was him laying his wet towel on the floor, because she was like, it's just kind of lazy, just pick it up. And I get it, because why the hell are you laying wet towels anywhere but folded up, hanging on the bar in the bathroom so that it can dry, so that it won't, you know what I mean? Like, I don't get it. I've seen people put wet towels on beds and stuff like that. I'm like, who does that? Just put your stuff away. And his was that she is untidy. And again, I see the same thing that I see with Clara and Ryan, that he is very structured. He's a pilot, you know what I mean? He has to be very on time on the plane. The plane ain't going nowhere, so he has to be early, and he has to be certain places at certain times. What's your ETA? You got to be here in 18 minutes, whatever it is. He's very punctual. She is not. Remember, she takes a long time to get dressed. She has to figure out what she's going to wear. She's kind of all over the place. So it's going to be interesting to see. I hate that it's like this in addition to their age gap, because it will come off as if she's not mature enough for him, or she's like more childish than him, and he has to come in and be the fatherly figure, which I don't like. So they talk about her having a lot of guy friends, and I understood her. And he says that there are rules. And she was like, you have rules now about hanging out with your guys. And he said a guy and a girl can never be friends unless the guy is gay or he is dating a friend of, like, one of your friends. And I'm like, oh, baby. And the crazy thing about it is he's about 34 years old. So it's like, I don't understand what guys expect. Like, all the male friends that I had before you, which were platonic, I'm just supposed to give them up because I met you? The world doesn't work that way, baby. What if we grew up together? What if we, you know what I mean? I'm one of those people that have lots of male friends. Like, some of my best friends are males. I would not give them up or ruin that relationship. Guess what? You can be friends with both of us in the relationship, and I'll be friends with your significant other. You know what I mean? I'll be friends with your wife, your girlfriend, and I'm in that relationship now with a lot of people. We're just making it, the more the merrier. But I'm not just going to completely sever a relationship because of your jealousy and your insecurity. Absolutely not. So, he says that she has one shot to break his trust. And if she does, that's it. And she needs to remember that. Here we go. Let's keep this in mind. He says he's home most of the time. So it's by the schedule. He's home most of the time, but he goes out every 15 days and he's gone for 2 to 3 days a week. And then he's home for a full 15 days. Right. So she's nervous about that because she likes to be with people. She doesn't want to miss her significant other. And so then he decides that he needs to tell her, like, basically, we'll figure out if you can handle it or not. And if you can't, it's done. It's over. I'm like, why is he so cut and dry and cutthroat? And the way that he's talking to her, I can't put into words, but the way you're talking to her is kind of manipulative. Like, if this is my life, take it or leave it. If you can't handle it, then that's it. It's done. And whatever happened to compromise and changing and getting on the same page as you met somebody new, so you have to make some changes about yourself too. You have to make some accommodations. I just don't like the way he's talking to her, and it just sucks that she's so much younger and kind of like flighty and the whole thing, because I do think that she stands up for herself, but it somehow gives him the right to feel like he can talk to her like that, and I don't like that. So, he says, because it's over and I don't want to waste your time. I'm not about wasting your time. If you can't handle my schedule, shit, what if you can't handle her schedule? You know what I mean? And I just find that to be manipulative, and I don't like it. All right, so let's go to the master manipulator, Chris and Paige, right? And I have my notes on them all over the place. I'm going to be jumping around because, I can't keep anything in order. So, they start out at breakfast. This time he made it to breakfast on time, right? And he says, she feels like she's pulling teeth talking to him. You know what I mean? And, of course, right before this, we see him talking to the producers, and he's telling the producers, like, you have to tell her. And, he's like, I don't want to tell her. And she's like, they're like, that's your wife. You're going to have to. So he's just telling his wife at breakfast, I have a lot going on. So she's like, what is it? And he's like, I found out some info that's devastating, and I won't tell her, and all this kind of stuff. He keeps saying, I'm good. And I hate that passive aggressive behavior. I don't like that, right? And I'm saying it like that because somebody told me that's like more clinical terms, but that's how you describe that type of behavior. You know what I mean? Something is wrong and you're not saying what it is, and you're acting like it's not there. You're avoiding it. You're taking it out in other ways. I don't like that, right? So, he says, he says, I'm good. And she's like, well, I'm not. And I feel that I'm not good. Like, what is wrong? Because whatever it is affecting your relationship with me in this moment, right? She says, it's not about you. It's about us, whatever it is, right? He's like, I don't want to talk about it. Right. And so, she talks about not keeping secrets within their marriage. And then at some point, she just kind of just stands up and says, you know what? Somebody needs to tell me what's going on, because I don't like what's happening here, and you guys know what's going on. Everybody knows what's going on except for me, so y'all need to tell me what's up. And I'm like, I can't imagine how she feels, because that sucks, right? Now, remember, he already told the producers, right? And so the producers are telling him, tell her, right? So, she's like, he's telling everybody this, or she told him, you're telling everybody whatever it is that's going on except for me, and I'm your wife. And so then he says, do you want to talk about it? And I'm like, duh, I want to talk about it. I've been asking you about it for the last 15 minutes and you haven't said anything. That's the whole point. I want to talk about it, right? So, he takes her into the bathroom. He turns on the shower and the faucets, tells her to take her mic off, and then he tells her, and then he leaves the bathroom. And then it's like, okay, what happened? He left her in the bathroom, right? So then he says, I'm giving her some time to herself. She needs a moment. So I wish, and then she comes out and she says, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm numb. That's how she feels, right? After hearing the news. I wish that we didn't get the leak and know what it was before it actually happened, because this whole first half an hour of them showing us bits and pieces of this would have been awesome anticipation building. You know what I mean? But now I already knew what it was. I'm like, damn, because the whole time I'm like, dang, I wish I didn't know, because this would have been very suspenseful for me. It would have been fun, right? Not fun for her, but fun for me in a little way. So, she talks about, she says, I don't know what I'm going to do. I feel numb. Supposedly, we don't know yet, what is happening, right? So now this is where my notes go crazy. So then, okay, so he told her basically that his ex is pregnant. And, she says, I feel cheated. And I think she was cheated from the experience that everybody else on the show got to get. I feel like it sucks for her. Did the experts know? Did the producers know this prior to? Why would they have him on the show? I don't think so, because Woody did a video And he was saying, like, they're asking you these questions, but you tell them what they want to know. You know what I mean? You're not going to sit, if you want to be on a show, you're not going to tell them the truth and all the bad things that you have going on, because then you won't get picked. So if you're smart enough and charismatic enough, and Chris seems like he is, not saying he's a sociopath, but some of that like manipulative behavior where you know how to like smooth over everything and just charm the pants off of everybody, then of course they would allow you on, because you're going to say what they want to hear. So, you know, she just says like he has all the BS and all the antics, and this is what she's telling. I'm sorry. She had a conversation with Paige and Brianna, and she says, you know, he has all the BS and all the antics, and I can't really handle much more. It's only been 3 days, right? And you know, she was like, I have all these things I have to think about. He could go back to her because they want to be a family. Like, she's still trying to figure out why they were matched. Like, she didn't even get a chance to even, like, can you just imagine? You're on a TV show, number one. Then you get matched up with this guy. You have sex so quickly, which is another, it's interesting that she did that. I'm still trying to figure that out, because there was no connection. I know that she felt pressure from different ways, but it's like, I can see if you did it once out of a moment, but then to keep doing it twice, it almost feels like now he sees you as a piece of meat, as somebody that he can have sex with and not get married to, because he was never attracted to your face, but you never gave it time to figure that out. You know what I mean? To hear his side of that. It was just like something like, let me just keep doing this to make him happy and to make him fall for me. And maybe that's just learned behavior from her. If I have sex, then they'll fall for me. You know what I mean? They'll be on my team, or there's something there. But I feel bad that she did it, but I wonder what was the motivation behind it, or if it was, you know, or if it's just like her behavior. She's a sweet girl, and it sucks for her to have to go through this, you know, like, just a moment after getting married, after allowing her, you know, after I shouldn't say giving herself to him, but after sharing these moments with him, after now meeting with his family, after him telling her he is not attracted to her, and to her face or whatever it is. And then now to hear that you have your ex pregnant, she's 6 weeks pregnant, meaning that just 6 weeks before you decided you wanted to commit your life to somebody, you were having sex with somebody and unprotected and got them pregnant. You know, he's a lot. And then he's crying all the time, and he's unstable, and emotions all over the place. It's just, it sucks for her, you know? So I guess I'm giving her kudos. I don't know if I'm giving her kudos for saying that she wants to stick this through, or just like, girl, you need to run. Like, what happened? Is it a self-esteem thing? Is it that you're trying to still get as much as you can from this experience? Is it that you don't want to be embarrassed? Like, what is it that is it just her personality? Like, what is it that's keeping her there? It's interesting. I guess we'll find out as we continue to watch. Let's see. No, I have more on them, because it gets even better, right? So then Chris, after, you know, Paige goes to talk to Brianna. It's interesting that they match those two, as like they always match up the black couples, but whatever. Vincent and Chris talk, and Vincent, you know, Chris tells Vincent what happened. Vincent was like, well, his first question was, I thought that was smart, is why is this all happening right after the wedding? You're telling me this girl didn't know, and she decides to, it's almost like she decided to blow it up for you. You got married. Now, 2 days later, I'm going to tell you I'm pregnant. And Chris says, no, she knew for a few weeks, but she's just now telling me. Vincent said, is she being honest? And he's like, yeah, you know, she's being honest. And, you know, Vince said, you know, he's very empathetic. Like, if I were Paige, I would be upset if I were her, as we all would, right? And, you know, he says, well, have you guys been intimate? And he's like, yeah, the first night, the second night, and this and that. He's like, I was laughing. I had to rewind it, because he was like, damn, you guys really went at it. And that's what I'm thinking, like, I don't know, it just would have been more special if you only did it once. I don't know. It's just, I don't know. I gotta think about that, right? And, you know, we find out then that the girl is 6 weeks along. You know, so then they go on a date. Chris goes on a one-to-one date with Paige, and, you know, she tells him, like, listen, I'm a no-nonsense type of person. I don't want to waste your time. And so you need to let me know what it is. And, you know, Chris kind of says that he has grown in attraction to her. She's beautiful, you know, all this stuff, because he's a charmer. And it's interesting that, are you telling me that this changed from just yesterday when you had a panic attack because you didn't find her attractive? Now all of a sudden you're so into her that you wouldn't want to chase her if she were to leave him. He says, I will support you if you decide to stay with me or to leave me, but I hope you decide to stay. And if you do leave me, I will chase you. He's like kind of smiling, you know, I want you. You're a great woman. You have all these qualities that he listed. But his behavior doesn't match up with what he's saying, which is the concerning part. And how did this flip-flop happen? This isn't something else I have a question about. I don't know. It's just something about him is really throwing me off here, right? Paige explains, I was a stepmom type of figure before, and I know that I did not want to go back into that situation coming into another relationship. So she knows what that's like, dealing with a baby mama and the whole thing. And she said, you know, he says that she is the most important in his life, over the baby, over the other ex and everything. She's the most important. And I'm like, okay, I don't. It's just weird that he got to that point, and I don't believe it, and I think he's a liar, right? So, that's the conversation they have with each other. I guess she decided that she wants to kind of stick it out and see where it goes. I guess she feels like it's too early to leave. I don't know what's keeping her there. But now everybody in the group comes together, right? And the only people that aren't there are Virginia and the pilot. And so, Chris tells the group, and after, everybody starts kind of rallying around Paige in a way. He said he feels that they're all supporting Paige and not him. So he decides to walk off and starts crying or what have you. And so it's very awkward that, the way that he walked off is very awkward. It's just like, okay, he kind of whispers something to Paige and then laughs, and then Paige goes to check on him. And he says that he feels he was jealous that everybody else was happy and they got exactly what they asked for, and he and Paige were not happy, and they didn't get exactly what they asked for in each other, or he didn't get what he asked for. That's what he meant in a wife. And it made him cry or whatever. The crying is throwing me off. The instability of his emotions is throwing me off, because there's such highs and lows, and I just feel like for you to be so into all the stuff you did, it's almost like that's all he has, because the personality is crap. You know what I mean? Like, I own a Subway. I'm this type of entrepreneur. I got this degree. I got this. That's great. But then when conflict arises, you crumble over and fall into this like whimpering like child. You know what I mean? He doesn't have any type of emotional intelligence. He is very narcissistic, and he also isn't everything is about him. Like, they should be rallying around Paige, because when did you rally around her? You know what I mean? Like, all of this has to do with you. Nobody's supporting me. How do I feel? This whole thing. I'm embarrassed. I'm this and that. And you don't think about how Paige feels, knowing that the husband she just married has somebody else pregnant, right? So of course she goes over this, and this is when she goes over, and she's very patient, and she's listening, and she says what, and I like how she talks to him, but it's almost like a mother to a child in a way, kind of like a caretaker, as my friend said. What can I do for you? What can I do to make this better? And he said he feels stuck, and God is writing, I think, was it her that said God is writing my story or whatever? And he said he feels stuck, and if I were her, I'd be like, you ain't stuck nowhere, you can leave, dude. And because nobody has time to be bothered with this, right? And so, she's being supportive, and then he decides now to turn on nasty Chris and kind of be like, I don't want to be bothered right now. I don't care, this whole thing. And that I can't deal with, because you're already putting me in this position. I'm still being supportive and patient, and then you're giving me the cold shoulder. I don't care, this whole thing. All right, then we both don't have to care. I'm leaving. That's the kind of stuff that will make me leave. And I hope that that's what she chooses to do, because his behavior is ridiculous. They head back, and they go sit with the rest of the couples, and Virginia and the pilot walk in, and everybody's like laughing and joking, and so they're kind of like, well, they don't know what's going on. So then he tells Chris and Virginia, and then I think the pilot. And the pilot starts asking questions like, well, how far along is she? Like, is it really yours? And this whole thing. And now he's feeling some kind of way, Chris, because he's like, oh, I don't want everybody all in my business like that. And, so he kind of says like, I appreciate the support, but, for you to support me, I need you to not be so intrusive. I need you to respect our privacy and this whole thing. And so Chris says, okay, sure. But his tone is kind of nasty. He says something that was kind of nasty that threw me off. And then the girl, she said something that, she was like, well, y'all have 9 months to figure it out. It was really funny, but I guess he didn't find any of it funny. And you could kind of see him boiling on the inside. When some people they can't really read your emotion, and they just keep going. They're laughing and joking, but you're taking it a completely different way. Paige felt it, and I think we all felt it. And then, I could see her kind of like hitting his patting his leg a little bit, even if she didn't. That's what I imagine she was doing. And he was just getting really upset and the whole thing. And so then we see next week that he and the pilot almost get into a fight, which is crazy and weird and makes me embarrassed for both of them. I am interested to see where this goes. I have a lot to say, and I don't want to have you guys sitting here for a whole night, so I'm just going to leave it at that. But let me know what you guys think. Like, comment, subscribe, leave me some comments in the chat box. I want to see what you think and what you think about Chris, because he's like the most notable of this season. Either way, I will see you next week. Thank you for watching Reality with T. Bye bye.